Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I am Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends today, and today I am about to bring you one of the most amazing champions in the entire game. Yeah, he's got some kinks that needs to be worked out, but man, I was overly harsh judging this champion, and you guys are about to see why. But first, who is he? What does he do? This is the new Sylvan Watcher faction unity guy, Blade Chorister Caldor. Now, what does he do exactly? Well, he has some pretty insane moves. So on his A1, Dagger Song, he attacks all enemies, has a 15% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn, will ignore 20% of each target's resistance for each continuous heal buff on this champion. Alright, pretty cool. AoE on a damage dealer with an A1 stun is awesome. Ignoring resistance is also awesome. On the A2 Orchestra of War, select a target. If the target is an enemy, decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn. Places a 5% poison debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and an additional 5% poison for 2 turns for each continuous heal buff on this champion. These debuffs cannot be resisted. Then instantly activates all poison debuffs on all enemies. If the target is an ally, increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn, and instantly activates all continuous heal buffs on all allies. Places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 2 turns. Also places a 15% continuous heal buff on this champion for 2 turns, and another 15% continuous heal buff for each alive ally for 2 turns. Finally fills this champion's turn meter by 15% for each buff or debuff placed by this skill. That's on a 3-turn cooldown, fully booked. Real quick, click the link in the description to get a free Bambus as well as Ugo at level 15. Here's how to do it. Log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial. Go to your inbox and claim your first champ. This is where you'll find your free Bambus as well as Ugo at level 15. This gives you an insane start in Raid Shadow Legends, so click that link and let's crush this together. Alright, on the A3 here, this is where it gets weird. Rhythms Crescendo on a 3-turn cooldown, fully booked. Attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, has a 100% chance of removing all buffs from the target and placing a 60% decreased defense debuff and a 25% weakened debuff on the target for 2 turns. Will ignore 20% of the target's resistance for each continuous heal buff on this champion. Now, it says attack and enemy max HP, which is a little bit misleading, but it still does nuke incredibly hard, as you guys will see later on. With 1 faction ally, removes all buffs from all enemies if the initial target is killed. This buff removal cannot be resisted. With 2 faction allies, will ignore 5% of the target's defense for each poison debuff on them and each continuous heal buff on this champion. With 3 faction allies, if the initial target is under a poison debuff, also attacks all other enemies. The damage dealt is proportional to the initial target's max HP and how many poison debuffs are on them. If the initial target is a boss or a minion, the damage dealt is equal to 10% of their max HP. So this is a bit misleading. This is not straight up an enemy max HP hit. He has to have a target under poison. He has to have 3 faction allies, and then everybody else he will hit for an enemy max HP hit. It's still really good, incredibly awesome for wave clearing. Alright, then on the passive here, Sylvan Symphony will ignore 15% of a target's defense when attacking while under a Veil or Perfect Veil buff. This champion receives 30% less damage from enemies when not under a Veil or Perfect Veil buff. Sylvan Watcher's Unity. 1 faction ally. Each continuous heal buff on this champion increases their crit rate by 20%. He doesn't need to be built with crit rate if you have 1 faction ally. With 2 faction allies, each time a continuous heal buff activates on this champion, also fills their turn meter by 8%. With this A2 here, he's always going to have a massive amount of continuous heals. He's constantly going to be taking turns. With 3 faction allies, each time a continuous heal buff activates on this champion or an ally, increases this champion's damage by 5%, stacks up to 150%. Guys, this is an absolutely insane passive. He's going to get constant turn meter. He's going to ramp his damage by 150%, and he doesn't need crit rate. Guys, this max HP nuke, this nuke in general is going to hit so much harder. This A1, that's an AoE, is going to hit so much harder. As far as a blessing goes, we went with Nature's Wrath. Only 1 star, but a bonus is a bonus. As far as a relic is concerned, we went with the Cat's Gaze, and then masteries, we went down and brought Helm Smasher to the table. As far as stats are concerned, sets and stats, I mean, we went with speed, divine speed, pinpoint, resilience for a little extra tanky, and 1 piece of merciless. It's just stat bonuses all around. He's coming in with 5.4k attack, 235 speed, Not going to be crit capped. He doesn't need to be crit capped. We're also going to be using his aura with almost 300% crit damage at 292%. And he doesn't need accuracy either because his poisons can't be resisted, and his drop defense and weaken will ignore resistance if he's under continuous heal. All right, so what exactly can this guy do? Now, he is a little funky to set up with the AI. So if you want him to use his A2 offensively, you have to manual. He will not use his A2 offensively at all, like ever. And it's really weird. I wish you could set it up so that he did. It's not a problem in Hydra. I judged this way too harshly in Hydra. You're going to actually get to see my raw reaction after I judge that too harshly and realize my mistake. We're going to stitch that into the end of the video. But I judged that way too harshly. However, for dungeons, it is a bit awkward. So I'm going to show you exactly what he can do with like on manual, like his actual power. And then I'm going to show you what his AI does. And it's just funky. So definitely not super auto-friendly outside of Hydra. For Hydra, he's very auto-friendly. But, you know, for anything outside of that, not super auto-friendly. So we open with the continuous heals, right? We just want to stack that passive as much as possible. Right, we go in with Corvus's poisons. All right, then we're going to go in with poisons on everybody. He gives himself an extra turn, right? He activates, he explodes, he gives himself an extra turn. He's going to go in, target the Venus because she has the highest HP, and just absolutely kill everybody. All right, that's what he does when you manual. When you auto, though, it's a different story. So we're going to replay this, and this is just going to be on auto. It's the exact same kind of setup we have, right? We start with the ally attack, right? We're just stacking the continuous heals. Elva opens with her A1, right? Padre goes in with that A2 there, the ally attack, right? Corvus is going to go in with the poisons, but Caldor just buffs himself. He doesn't activate the poisons, and he never will for whatever reason, and he doesn't target the enemy with the highest max HP. She's really awkward to use on auto because of those AI little glitches, right? So, okay, so he's not great to use on auto in dungeons. However, on auto in Hydra, he is fantastic. I judged this guy's AI in Hydra way too harshly, but I ended up one keying Brutal completely on auto for the very first time using this squad, right? It was Caldor, Elva, Padre, Hatter, and Ugo. Very simple squad. Caldor's getting all the faction unity benefits because he still won't use the poisons in Hydra, so I was like, you're not getting the AoE. It doesn't matter because his A3 hits for like 500-600k without anything else. Like, it's crazy good. So you guys are going to get my reaction to judging this guy very harshly right now. All right, guys, so we're a bit farther into the run, and I gotta say, I was completely, totally wrong about this guy's AI in Hydra, because we are about to one key Brutal full auto for the very first time in the history of my account without a preset, with unbooked champs, and this guy is our only damage dealer. That has not happened in the history of my account. Guys, he has been putting out 600, 500k hits from that A3 on non-decapitated heads. Hits for over 1 million on that A3 on decapitated heads. Guys, I was very wrong. The setup, don't worry. Okay, do not worry about setting him up with the poisons in Hydra. Dude, just get the faction allies that he needs. Look at that. 1.6 million. 1.6 million damage off of that A3. Okay, I was very wrong. Don't worry about setting him up with the poisons. Just stick him in on auto with the Sylvan allies that he needs. Let him stay alive, keep himself alive with the A2, and just absolutely watch him destroy. Like, absolutely watch him destroy. Look, we're over the 1 key now. Completely full auto. I did not expect this to happen. Guys, this is insane. This is insanely good. I take back everything I said about this guy for Hydra, about having to manual. I take it all back because this dude is crazy. This dude is crazy. Yeah, guys, I take all that back. None of it was a word of truth, and I could feel it in my gut when I was saying it, but I didn't understand, and now I see how wrong I was. So guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for bearing with me in my mistake about the champion. Guys, I have been Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, I don't even know. I can't even imagine what we're going to get to. He's going to get eaten in 4 turns, and we don't have another damage dealer, so that's going to put us in big trouble. But we still one-keyed. Now, I've got a Brutal team. I didn't have that before. Game changer for Hydra. Game changer for Hydra, guys. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I've been Felris, sailing the seas of Raid Shadow Legends and finding out that I was wrong, and I will see you in another video.